Hi, my name is Ikaika Pelotu, and this is my presentation on the PHP function filter input. So there are two main purposes behind using filter input. The first one is security, and the second one is validation. With this function, there are a lot of kind of extra parameters that allow you to ensure the security of your backend, as well as the integrity of the data that you're working with. So I'm going to break down the syntax. There are 4 parameters that you can use in this function. The first 2 parameters are required in order for this function to work. So I'm going to talk about each of these 4 different parameters and how they all work together in this single function. So the first parameter is types. There are 5 types: get, input post, cookie, server, and environment. This is pretty much telling your function where you want them to look for the variable that you're going to be interacting with, or the type of input that you're going to be getting. So the second parameter is type, and this is a variable. So I have a HTML block right here. It's a form, and it's using the method post, and you see this input type, the attribute for it, or the input is a text, but the attribute for its name is name. So this is asking me to look for your post inside the post input, which is right here, for the variable with name. And so you should always remember that the name attribute is the variable that you're going to be using. The next type is filters. So there are 4 types of filters, but the 2 major ones is sanitize filters and validate filters. Validate filters will throw an error and stop the process if the rule is not met, the validated rule is not met. While sanitize filters will remove all characters or add characters in order to meet the rule. So for example, if we look at filtered sanitize email, what that does, it removes all characters that are not letters, numbers, or one of the special characters like at, dot, and a couple others. And so what will happen is it will just remove all the characters that aren't those. While the filter validate email will look at all the characters, and if it finds a character that is not one of those, then it will throw an error and stop the function. So you should remember, whenever you use validate filters, put it in a try block so that you can catch the error and maybe redirect to a error 500 page. The last parameter that you can use is the options parameter. And these are kind of like allows you to narrow down even more the kind of scope that you want to filter for them. So here, for example, all of these are options that you can use on the left, the ID column. Now, the middle column is the filter that is used with it. So you have to remember that the options are like attached to different filters and do not work with every filter. And here's the descriptions of what they are. There are a lot of different options that filters can use. So now we're going to go into an example. So here I have a PHP file called test that is running HTML in it. And so most notably, I have this form that is using the post method. And the action is calling to the PHP file action _ page. In this form, I'm asking for a phone number. So I have an input with the type of tel and the name of phone. So when we look at the variable in the next in the action PHP page, I'm going to be looking for phone. And then lastly, I have an input value, a submit input, so just the submit button. So if we go ahead and look at this page, this is the code we're having run in the backend. So we're having the variable phone, which is equal to filter input post. Remember, we're using the post method, so we need to call for the input post. And then we're looking for the variable phone. So if we go ahead and run this, and we type in a phone number, it should be submitted to the backend. They check that this is indeed it, and then it should be printed out to the console. So we see here, it's perfect. But what happens if we type in a string? So now, if we submit it, the letter should be a part of it as well. Wait, I have to make sure that this is saved. So if I submit it, we see that these characters are in here, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is change this, and we're going to add a filter. So this is the same code, filter input post, phone, but now we have this filter sanitize number int. And what this is doing is removing every character except for integers. So we go ahead and run this again. And it should remove every character except for the hello. And there you see it, it's now all filtered. So in summary, inputs, the filter input is used both for selecting and filtering user input. There are two required parameters, which is the type and the variable. The variable will always be the named attribute of the input from the HTML page. And you can always use filters and options to both validate and to sanitize filter input from the users. This has been my presentation on PHP, the PHP function filter input. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments below.